Good evening. It is 6 p.m. I will call this City Council meeting of April 18th, 2023 to order. I'm presiding this evening at the request of Mayor Severns. Before we get started, I would like to begin with an acknowledgement. Whidbey Island is a very special place with a very special and unique history. We acknowledge that we live and work on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people, past and present. This acknowledgement does not take the place of authentic relationships with Indigenous communities, but it serves as an acknowledgement and honoring of the land that we live on. And with that, I would invite Pastor Josh Hubbard of Life Church to give the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I would like anyone who would be willing to join me in prayer this evening. Let us pray. Jesus, we thank you for this time to come together as the leaders of our community. We invite you to guide tonight's conversation. We ask that you would supply us with the wisdom needed to manage our city well and lead us as we lead Oak Harbor into the future. Bless each person here tonight as leaders commence with the meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Hubbard. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on YouTube and Facebook, and we will broadcast on cable channel 10 HD 1090 following the meeting. Attendees are participating in person and via teleconference. Guests that are included in staff presentations will be excused from the meeting as presented, or as appropriate, excuse me. At this time, I will have our city clerk, Julie, call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Wiesner.
Present.
Councilmember Stuckey.
Present.
Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
Present.
Councilmember Marshall.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Munns has asked to be excused.
Do we have a motion? Councilmember Marshall.
I move to excuse Councilmember Munns from the meeting.
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilmember Marshall to excuse Councilmember Munns, second by Councilmember Hoffmeyer. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up, we have approval of our agenda. Staff has recommended that due to the application being withdrawn, that we remove item 4G from the agenda. Are there any other suggested changes to the agenda? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Councilmember Marshall.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Marshall and second by Councilmember Hoffmeyer to approve the agenda as amended with item 4G removed. Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up, honors and recognitions and community presentations. We will begin with an Arbor Day Proclamation, and that will be read by Councilmember Eric Marshall.
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, named Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and beautify our community. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, we, Mayor Bob Severns, and council members of the City of Oak Harbor do hereby proclaim April 28, 2023 as Arbor Day in the City of Oak Harbor, and we urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, we urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Signed the 18th day of April, 2023. Bob Severns.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. I see our Parks and Rec Director, Brian Smith, up there. Do you have any comments regarding Arbor Day?
Hi, Council. Yes, actually, I would just, I'd like to give the spotlight over to two individuals on these two items. The first one with Arbor Day, and invite Jana Warner to come forward. She's the chair of our Parks Board. This Parks Board has been very active during this year and has done a lot of work in getting our tasks together and priorities for the department and getting a lot of these projects going. She has just a little bit of information for you and an invite for you on Arbor Day.
Thank you for the introduction, Brian. So first off, the Park Board recommends the proclamation that Councilmember Marshall just read, that Arbor Day be April 28th, 2023 this year. And a little bit of background information about Arbor Day is that it's a national holiday created to recognize the importance of trees and their impact to the health and well-being of our community and environment. It is celebrated annually on the last Friday in April and includes community tree planting events. In addition to participation in Arbor Day activities, the City of Oak Harbor has earned Tree City USA recognition. To receive this annual designation, an organization must meet certain minimum standards, which includes the celebration of Arbor Day. So this year, the City of Oak Harbor, in partnership with the Oak Harbor School District, will plant trees with students at Broadview Elementary on April 28th and celebrate with their 380 students that they have. Part of the celebration among planting trees will include a demonstration by the city's new arborists, and the classes will have a competition to name the nearby park, Wellsite 10, something else. They will present their class choices to the park board, and then we will vote on a recommendation and the winning class, which then will come and present it to council. So thank you.
Next up, we have our Tree City USA recognition, and we're going to have our Parks and Recreation Director, Brian Smith, note that recognition.
Thank you. Again, I'm going to give the spotlight to someone else who's well deserving of it. Bob Bailey, who will become our city arborist, has put a lot of work into renewing this application with the Arbor Day Foundation and the requirements as set forth by that foundation, as well as the National Forest Service. So I'll turn the time over to Bob for that and award for council.
Thanks, Brian. Hello, council. Okay, so a little background on what Tree City USA is. It's a designation through the Arbor Day Foundation. This is our 20th year of receiving the award. It started in 1976. Tree City USA is one of the Arbor Day Foundation's oldest programs. Our founders had a vision of a greener, healthier America and hoped this initiative would inspire change on a nationwide level. The first Tree City USA cohort was comprised of 42 communities in 16 states. Today, the program includes more than 3,600 communities from all 50 states. A thriving urban forest offers many advantages to our community. Here are just a few. Trees help absorb the sound of traffic in urban areas by 40%. Neighborhoods with trees are 7 to 9 degrees cooler than those without. That's important. Trees reduce energy costs up to 25% by shading buildings and protecting them from winter winds. Homes with trees have higher property values. Green space plays a major role in improving mental and physical health. Planting and maintaining trees absorbs carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, mitigating the effects of climate change. So I just wanted to talk for a minute about what Tree City USA is, because I'm sure everybody's seen the sign on Fort Nugent Road a few years ago. I wondered what goes into it. So a lot of things go into the designation. To start, we must meet 4 standards. The 4 standards are at least $2 per capita spent on overall tree management, including tree removal, planting and initial care, tree pruning, and supplies. And under all of that, we capture employees, professional training, memberships, and salaries, hours worked by city employees and volunteer groups. That includes training hours. a city arborist / forester designation. The second criteria is a community tree ordinance, which we have. Third is a tree board, which our Parks Board is acting as a tree board right now. And number 4, an Arbor Day observance, which last year we had on April 29th at Sumner Park in partnership with Olympic View Elementary School. It's pretty cool. So last year, the city spent $2.47 per capita on tree management, totaling a little over $61,000 on overall tree management. That's based on our current population of 24,709. So that put us over the threshold. I want to give credit to the Streets Department as well, because they account for about a third of the tree work that's happened in the city by city employees. This is the 20th consecutive year the city of Oak Harbor will be designated Tree City, USA. It brings notoriety to the city, which increases community education, awareness, and involvement with trees. It places accountability on the city toward growing and maintaining a tree program that looks to preserve and establish its urban tree canopy. And it makes the city a good example of tree stewardship. And to finish up, I would like to present Tree City USA Award to Mayor Pro Tem Eisen. Bring it up there. Or? That's all I've got. Thank you.
Set that up front. Thank you, Bob. All right, next up we have our citizen comment period. Citizens may comment on consent agenda items or subjects of interest that are not listed on tonight's agenda. Citizens will have an opportunity to comment on agenda items during the meeting as appropriate. Citizens can also visit our website prior to our meetings for methods to submit public comment or contact our city clerk, Julie Nestor, by phone or email. When submitting comments, please include your name and address. Public comment sent anonymously will be shared with mayor and council, but not displayed during the meeting. We've received no new comments from the public since our last regular meeting. Is that correct? Oh, thank you. And are there any members of the public present tonight who wish to speak to items not listed on tonight's agenda? Okay. Hearing that no one wishes to speak at this time, we will close public comment and move on to our consent agenda. Staff has presented the listed consent agenda items, all of which were included in the meeting packet. Are there any objections or changes to the consent agenda? Councilor Hoffmeyer.
Not an objection, but I would like to hear an update on item D.
Item D, 2023 Hot Mix Asphalt Overlay Project Award. Do we have a staff member present who can speak to that? Perfect. City Engineer Alex Warner.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Yes, I'm Alex Warner, City Engineer. I have a presentation prepared if you want to pull the item, or I can just give you a verbal update. I guess, what are you looking for on that item?
I'd like the presentation.
Okay, should I present that now?
You can go ahead and present it now, and then we'll approve the whole consent agenda when you're done.
Okay, great. So, okay, I see it on one screen. Okay, yeah, so this was on consent, but we are looking to award the construction contract for our 2023 Hot Mix Asphalt Overlay Project as part of our Transportation Benefit District funding. So, all right, yeah, I'll just have to cue you when to go to the next slide. So this project we did in-house in our engineering division. We designed and will be managing it through construction. It's a 2-inch grind and overlay, and it will cover approximately 2.4 lane miles in the northwest quadrant of the city. The work will begin in May and will extend to June, but potentially into July. We'll send out some notifications to residents with those TBD signs you saw last year. We'll send out letters. We'll have it on social media and the city website. So the streets we're going to be paving are Northwest Haslow Place, Northwest 7th Avenue, Northwest Columbia Drive, Northwest Ebbtide Court, Northwest Ensign Drive, Northwest Columbia Drive, Northwest Callista Court, and Northwest Atalanta Way. So we received 4 bids for this project. Our estimate was from $825,000 to $912,000, and the low bid was from Craig Construction in the amount of $745,754.40. So we confirmed that they are responsive and a responsible bidder. Again, this project will be fully covered by our Transportation Benefit District. And as typical, we are following the purchasing policy manual and asking for a change order allowance of 20% of the contract or $100,000, whichever is less. In this case, $100,000 is less. So with that, sounds like we might be approving through consent, but the recommended action is on the screen. And that again is to award the contract to Craig Construction for the 2023 hot mix asphalt overlay project in the amount of $745,754.40 and authorize the Public Works Director to execute change orders up to $100,000 in total.
Thank you, Mr. Warner.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the only other question I had there, and we are free to answer our own questions, so I already know that, but the TBD paving is not the only paving we do. Westwood Via, Regatta, et cetera, are separate funds. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
That's correct, and that's based on the street classification. So we have the local residential streets, anything above that. So the local residential streets are covered by the Transportation Benefit District. And that was, what was such a great thing with taxpayers approving that fund is we had a revenue source for the local streets. The collectors, minor arterials, and principal arterials are paid for through a separate fund. That's the annual overlay program.
It's the arterial fund, and I think it's part of the transportation revenue that we have, and also that our Capron revenue that we have, which is the special island revenue there. So it really helps that the general fund doesn't have to put in a portion of our transportation. So we're fortunate with that, those revenue sources. And our finance director is probably listening. And did I get that right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex.
All right, if there are no other questions or objections or changes, then we will consider the consent agenda item approved as presented. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Warner. That makes me wonder how often staff has a whole presentation planned just in case we pull an item. They know us too well. All right, next up we have mayor's comments, and if you could bear with me, there are a lot of them. First up, we have staff work anniversaries. Several city employees recently celebrated milestone work anniversaries. Our public work operation manager, Steve Beebe, 35 years. Deputy Fire Chief Mike Buxton, 30 years. Solid waste lead George Place and solid waste collector Mike Boonstra, both at 25 years. And several at 15 years. Our harbor master, Chris Sublett, marina operations specialist, Stephanie Lee Saunders, police sergeant Jen Gravel, and police officer Manny Silvera. Congratulations to all. Boards and committees. The city has openings on the Arts Commission, Historic Preservation Commission, the Investment Committee, the Planning Commission, and the Salary Commission. Please visit our website for more details on those vacancies and how to apply. Robotics competition. The mayor and the city council send our good luck wishes to 3 Oak Harbor siblings, Micolio, Michaela, and Masela Cervantes, who qualified to compete in the largest robotics competition in the world, the VEX Robotics World Championship in Dallas, Texas, April 24th through the 28th. Only 13 teams from Washington out of 200 qualified to compete, and this team took third place in the state this year. City Hall Open House. The city will hold an open house at City Hall tomorrow, April 19th, from 4 to 6 p.m. Stop by, meet some of our staff, find out more about city how-to and operations. Members of the council may be participating, and a notice of attendance has been posted.
I would add there's refreshments too, so if that attracts more people. So.
Oh, refreshment, we'll be there. Coffee with a Cop. This well-received event returns. This is your opportunity to interact and get to know, ask questions, and voice concerns to our local police department. Starbucks at 31270 SR20, the South location, on Thursday, May 4th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Other upcoming community events. The Whidbey Island Marathon is taking place this upcoming Sunday. Motorists should plan ahead for road closures and be alert for runners along the roadways. The city will have a booth at Holland Happening to... Everything okay? Sorry. No, it's fine. The city will have a booth at Holland Happening to promote the active transportation plan, and I understand a few city council members will be participating in the parade. We look forward to seeing our community at all these festivities. Next up, we have council comments. Do our council have any news updates? Councilor Hoffmeyer.
Yeah, I got a couple. First of all, on the street that I live on, a private contractor happened to punch a horizontal boring machine through a 6-inch water main and caused quite the water rupture. Now, the second part of this, I don't necessarily know this to be true, but the neighbor boy said that the city workers showed up in capes looking like Wonder Woman and Superman.
I don't doubt it.
It was quite the scene regardless, and the city staff made a pretty miraculous quick recovery and had our water back on by 6:30, I would say, at night. The neighbors were incredibly gracious, so pretty cool. The other thing I had, Thursday night, I met with a Rachel Oswalt that does a suicide awareness podcast for the military. Friday night was a speaking event by Fabian Ramirez, a anti-bully and suicide awareness speaker from Washington, D.C. He was brought in town by the Brandon Graham Foundation out of Coupeville, who I've had some real good meetings with, and I think they're going to be bringing a presentation to council. Councilor Marshall was there as well, and then on Sunday, I had the opportunity to speak with the Dean of Students at North Whidbey Middle, and it's funny some weeks when you have all these meetings and a theme develops, and it was so clear that the youth and the young adults of the community are really desperate for activities, and seeing the activities on the board there that you just showed, that's a start. And I think having our wonderful Parks Board Chair and Vice Chair here tonight, and our new Park and Rec Director, I think a lot of these things needed to happen yesterday, but we are aware that we need to help either directly or indirectly help create more activities in our community, and hopefully that will help out in its own small way. But that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hoffmeyer. Yeah, according to the Healthy Youth Survey that's done every other year for students in Washington State, compared to state averages, Oak Harbor students really suffer at disproportionate levels with mental health and behavioral health challenges. So I know there are a number of community organizations that do a lot of really important work. So thank you for highlighting those. Appreciate that. Councilor Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, I just wanted to follow up a little bit with how excited I am with the Parks Board. We've got some new exciting blood on board, and with the new Parks Director position, I'm expecting some exciting things. I feel the energy in the room when we have the meetings. The last one I actually did virtually, and I still felt the energy in the room. there was a lot of conversation that took place. And I'm excited for the future for our parks. And I'm excited that the Parks Board is talking about more integration with council and more interaction with us, right? Because that's what's going to help, speed the process along. Because I agree, it's, some things are long past due. I'd like to say, that this summer is going to be this magical summer and it's all just going to happen overnight. It's not how it works, but certainly the conversations are starting. They're starting now, and they're starting with a lot of excitement in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wiesner. Any other council comments? Okay, moving on, we have item BI, approving the schedule and procedure for filling a city council vacancy, position number 4. As was announced previously, Councilmember Dan Evans resigned his position on April 5th. The council must appoint a qualifying person to serve in that position until the citizens elect a new council member in November. Staff has provided us with a proposed schedule and detailed the procedures for filling the vacancy, reviewed by our legal counsel. And to present that discussion, we will have our city administrator, Blaine Oborn.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council. So this will be my 3rd time I've done this since I've been here with the resignation. And this one's a little interesting here with the timing. So I wanted to make sure everybody understood the issue here, because all the other 2 other ones we had were after the election. So the person just served the rest of the term. But in this position, according to the RCW, the Revised Code of Washington State, if the resignation is before the filing period, and the filing period starts on May 15th, then that election is up in the next election. So it'll be a 2-year seat. The council will be appointing this person through get the date right here. Yeah, through May 28th. November 28th, thank you. November 28th, I have Julie here to back me up. So it'll be from May to November. That's where I got the May stuck in there. So we have an interesting scenario here, and during the process here that we have recommended for you, this is the procedure we used before. Today you would approve this schedule here. We would advertise on the April 26th and May 3rd in the paper. We would do the cutoff for the selection on May 8th. That gives us time to go ahead, and our city clerk has to verify the eligibility of all the applicants, and then submit the list to the council on May 16th, and on May 16th, the council could interview all of them in the subsequent May 24th meeting, or narrow the list down. So I know we've had only 4 one time, and the council interviewed them all, and the last time I think we had 8, and the council cut it in half, and I think Councilmember Marshall's familiar with that process. Yeah, and I think Councilmember okay, yeah. And so and the recommendation would be on the workshop to speed this process along here. We would make that an action item on May 28th and add the interviews, the executive session there, discuss the interviewees of the short list that you decide to interview, and then you would make that appointment on that date. The deadline for doing it under the RCW would be within 90 days, which would be July 4th. So we would figure that July 3rd. This is a accelerated process, but I think it'll get it along. So this person whoever you appoint would serve through November 28th. And then, interesting enough, like I mentioned earlier, the filing period is going to be in the middle of this process we're doing here. It's really not an option, really, I view, to leave it open, because if you don't fill it within 90 days, then the county commission fills the position. So I was thinking, why can't you just leave it open? You really can't speed up the time that the election takes place. So it's going to be in that November period. And I guess it can possibly be, if there's more than 2 applicants in it, it could be in the primary in August for this position. So that's the process here. Council's welcome to make any changes, but this is a good suggestion here, but I'm open up for any questions you might have.
Okay, council, any questions? Councilor Hoffmeyer.
You said May 28th. I think you meant May 24th.
Yes, May 24th.
Okay.
November 28th and May 24th.
We've got that information in front of us.
Okay, thank you.
For anybody watching.
Thank you. And there's a nice little sheet there that could just kind of, so we're prepared if you want to go ahead with this to go ahead and do this tomorrow, because we've already had about 3 people inquire to us about how to fill that position. And we have to wait till council decides to do the process, because there is no formal process. But this, I think the council had decided this some time ago, and it's a good process here on the way we're doing it.
Councilor Stuckey.
So I'll make sure I didn't mishear. So this would be council interviews, the shortlist on May 24th. Filing week is the week before this. So it's not taking place during filing week.
No, you're going to have the short list on May 16th. So without doing extra meetings, this is about the fastest we can do the process here. We've got to give a decent time to interview, and this is about as accelerated as we've done. I think we've done it a little longer before. So, I mean, you could go to the next council meeting in June, but you only have one regular council meeting in June, and the workshop's not till the end of the month. But certainly, we're open to alternatives. This is your process. Majority of council sets this process, and we're just recommending, based upon past practices and our kind of calendaring here, the process. But certainly, you're welcome to modify it.
I guess my concern is just extremely awkward timing. I'm trying to think of somebody in the mindset of somebody applying for this. Either you decide you want to run, in which case you may or may not go for that appointment. I am almost for, if possible, moving this up. Just because having it after filing week, I would love for somebody who decides to go for this to also be running. I personally don't like the idea of somebody just being a temporary 6-month candidate. Is there any way we can move this time frame up a little bit?
Yeah, Julie has our city clerk. She really calendared this. I think you certainly could, but you're gonna have to give up on the advertising. And a city clerk, go ahead.
Correct. Council member, we wanted to allow time for legal notice of this to run 2 consecutive weeks in our paper of record. And last time we did this process, we actually ran that for 4 consecutive weeks. So we are already speeding that up. Yes, it does fall right in the middle of the period for filing. And whether that would change someone's mind about filing, it's hard to say.
It is really interesting, just because the final does not happen during filing week, it happens after filing week. So it's I guess there'd be a lot of strategy on what method you want to go if you're looking to get on council. So I don't have a solution. It's just fascinating, that's all.
Yeah, it would be my preference to be the appointed time, and then they have to run. But it's based upon the vacancy, not the appointment. So that's why we have the dilemma we have now with doing that, so.
Yeah, it is really awkward timing. So whoever applies for the vacancy we would make that very clear to them that if appointed, they would only serve until November unless they're also elected to the seat. So
Yeah.
And then there's no guarantee that the person we appoint, it will be the person getting elected. So or that they'll even be running for that particular position. So it's a pretty unprecedented situation. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, there's scenarios of you can appoint somebody who doesn't run for re-election and then serves through November 28th. You can appoint somebody who runs for election and loses and goes on it, or you can appoint somebody who does who gets elected and continues on the extra 2 years. And so, and it's a limited term, so the person will have to run in 2 years to bring the seat back to the 4-year rotation. And that's the other thing here is there's 3 positions that'll be on the ballot for council that'll be on 4-year terms, and this one will be on a 2-year term, so.
Fascinating. Go ahead, Counselor Stuckey.
Would it be possible to add a question to this?
Councilmember, yes, the form does indicate that council members may ask additional questions. These are the questions that you have used, or that council has used for the last 3 times that we have gone through this in the last 3 years. So, but it also states that council members may ask additional questions. If you'd like one to be standardized to go with this, I'm happy to add it to the list.
I'm willing to defer to what my peers think, but I think it would behoove us to ask on this form. I understand we can ask the questions at the time, and that question needs to be asked of all candidates, but to have on here asking if it is their intent to run on the election. Because that, I feel like that does have some weight and some bearing. Because they could say, I mean, they could not answer, and then obviously after it's already past the time frame, I would hate to eliminate someone who's planning on running. I just think it's relevant to the process.
So you will know, because there will be public record on the 19th, and you're not interviewing until the May 24th. Gotta get my dates right.
But we're creating the short list on the 16th. So we could eliminate somebody because they still have 3 days after that in the week to file.
So I guess what we could do, I see what you're getting at, on the 16th, on our list now, we can ask the applicants to give us ahead of time.
Certainly. I could also suggest that depending on the number of applicants you have, you could interview all applicants.
And that's a possibility. I'm just trying to think of all scenarios, and I personally would like, again, you're not going to hold people to this, but asking on this particular application, because if I'm looking at applications, I'm trying to decide a short list, and let's say we get 15 people applying, I'm going to want to know what people are planning on trying to maintain that seat and which ones aren't. And if we're going to create that short list on the 16th, and there's still 3 days after that, I would just prefer that to be on this form as opposed to asked later when it's already past filing the week. Unless there's any objections or thoughts.
Thoughts? Objections? Counselor Hoffmeyer?
Yeah, I mean, my only thought on the whole thing is, and the timing is what it is, certainly. I would suggest that if there's people out there that, aren't running, that they consider applying as well. And the reason I would say that, if there's one person that applies, or if there's one person that files to run, I would most likely be okay with seating that individual. If there are 2 individuals that file to run for that seat, I would be extremely cautious in, putting our finger on the scale of democracy too far. So really, until we get to the 19th and or the 24th, I guess we really don't know. So if there are people out there that are running, I hope they will apply. And if there are people out there that, aren't interested in running but think that they could hit the ground running and really help us out in these 5 months, if they have some executive board experience or, even a past council member, who knows. But I am comfortable with knowing that by the 24th, the full picture will be in front of us at least, though. Thanks.
Counselor Hoffmeyer, just a little light bulb just went on when you made your comment that if we end up appointing one of the candidates running, you're concerned that might give them an unfair advantage or some kind of advantage, possibly? Yeah, that's not something that had occurred to me.
Or a disadvantage if we're not popular. I don't know which way it goes.
That's a good point. That could go either direction. Counselor Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. That's my concern as well, is that it could be a de facto endorsement of some sorts, that we have 2 candidates that are equally yoked, and then we're going to say that we picked this one over the other one. And so I share the same concern as Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
So I guess for input here for potential candidates, is there a preference that the candidate people considered in the appointment not run? Is that
Just for me, it depends on if there's more than one candidate, I suppose, on what that preference is. If there's only one person that filed, it might make sense to run with them so they could get up to speed. But then if there's more than one, it gets really interesting.
So I think as an applicant, if I was applying, I kind of would want to know when making the decision, is it going to help me to run or is it going to hurt me to file for the appointment? But I guess same thing we talked about the applicant. I think that's a lot to ask for your counsel because you don't know the situation, and it'll kind of adjust. But I like the idea and probably suggest if you want us to put on the initial application there, so you'll know on the 16th when you're looking at there, and you can kind of see from the number of candidates and adjust from there. And then if anybody asks us, we're just going to say council has mixed emotions on whether it'll help you or hurt you, whether you're going to run.
Yeah, and we're all different, and we all might view it differently, so there's, nobody's saying that the whole council would be inclined to elect someone running or just inclined to elect someone temporarily. So because we're all different and of different minds, then I think it'll be what it'll be, Councilor Wiesner, do you have any thoughts? Nope. Okay, then. How does council feel about adding the question on the application about if that person intends to run for a council seat in the election? Thumbs up? Yeah, it is. I think I agree. Okay. Okay.
I would prefer a motion
Oh, okay.
by the council to approve the recommended options with the additional of the question on the application of whether the person or the candidate will run or not. Intends to run.
I'll make a motion that we approve this application with the addition of a question: does the applicant intend to run in the November election?
In the schedule as presented.
In the schedule as presented.
Second.
All right, it has been moved by Councilor Stuckey, second by Hoffmeyer, to approve the application with the addition of the question of whether or not the candidate intends to run in the November election, and approve the proposed schedule. Close enough? More or less. Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Nope, that passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Very good input. Okay, let's see. Next up, we have our last item. Item 10A, Notice of Salary Commission Report and Order.
We have one more item
Oh,
under
I'm sorry, did I
council.
miss something?
Yeah, we have a
Thank you.
5B2, sorry.
I took so many notes, I totally obscured that, so didn't mean to run right over you. Okay, so approval of a special meeting, a joint meeting with Planning Commission. Members of the Planning Commission and members of the council have stated they would like to hold a joint meeting. This would be a special meeting to discuss economic development and other items of mutual interest. The suggested date is Wednesday, May 17th at 3 p.m. And go ahead, City Administrator Oborn.
I think you covered it right there. I think there's been discussion with the Plan Commission on wanting a joint meeting, and it's my understanding, it hasn't been here, well, I've been here in my 5 years almost, but there was that before, so I think it would, and we got some subject matter that's beneficial to both parties there, so I would recommend the council sets the agenda, so it takes a council motion to add this extra meeting. So I would recommend the council approve the extra meeting of the council. That would be a joint meeting with the Plan Commission for May 17th at 3 p.m. I think I got that date right.
Okay, I see, a couple of us are checking our calendars. Does that work for everybody? Works for me? Okay. All right, do you want a motion or?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
I will call upon the council for a motion. Councilor Hoffmeyer.
I move to approve of a special meeting, joint meeting with the Planning Commission, May 17th at 3 p.m.
I'll second that. So moved by Councilor Hoffmeyer, second by myself, to approve the joint meeting with the Planning Commission, May 17th at 3 p.m. Thank you for arranging that so quickly. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're moving. Go ahead. Oh, I'm so sorry.
The only thing I
I'm
had.
over-caffeinated and just going a mile a minute.
The
All
only-
those in favor?
I was going to add something real quick.
Oh, go ahead, Councilor Hoffmeyer.
The only thing I had to add to that was, a joint meeting with the Planning Commission. We're discussing intentional economic development. This is the best day ever. Thank you.
The best day ever. Yeah, note to self, less caffeine before council meetings. All those in favor? Raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you for keeping me on track. I appreciate it. Okay, next up. Now we move to item 10A, Notice of Salary Commission Report and Order, and our Human Resources Director Emma House will present.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, Council. Yes, I am here this evening to present on behalf of your Salary Commission the report and order that was passed in their regular meeting on March 2nd, 2023. The report and order includes the salary determination for appropriate compensation for the mayor and council members for the city of Oak Harbor. This is the notice of, just to give you notice, basically, and there is no action, there is no motion required for this information tonight. The prior Salary Commission report and order was last passed on December 14, 2021, and this report and order for this evening is to cover 2023, which would be a salary adjustment going into effect as of May 1st, 2023, and then this also covers 2024 with the salary adjustment going into effect on January 1st of 2024. So the report and order is in your packet, and I would like to express my thanks and appreciation to our Salary Commission members, Hal Hovey, James Croft, Cheryl Lawler, Melissa McCumber, and Nora Daniel from your last order, and then most recently, we have Cheryl Lawler, Hal Hovey, James Croft, and Anthony Mendel. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Emma.
Yes.
Sorry, real quick note of clarification. It's my understanding, you mentioned that the effective date is 2023. So for most of us, that would apply to the next election cycle. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the system is set up so that any salary increases for council do not apply to us as we currently sit in the position, but rather apply to the next person that gets elected to our seat.
I will let City Administrator O'Brien speak to that.
Yeah, that would be the case if you didn't have a salary commission.
Oh, okay.
Since we have a salary commission, the salary commission is independent, and then they can determine when and the timing. And our city attorney might be there to add to that if she wants to.
Ms. Evans, are you on the call?
I am. Hi, how are you?
Great, thank you.
We were just asking about the salary commission and the difference of the ordinance. I wanted to verify that the standard one and without a salary commission, and make sure I'm correct on that, would be it wouldn't take effect until any raises until they go through the election cycle. But since we have a salary commission, the law allows it to take effect when the salary commission proposes it. It just can't be retroactive. We learned that. So.
That's correct. You can't give yourself raises, but the salary commission could.
Okay, perfect, thank you, that's what I wanted to know. And Councilor Stuckey, you had a question.
More of a comment. I always get nervous when this comes up. I always get nervous for a slow week for our newspaper, and then the headline being council gets raises. It's all, so just to reiterate, we're not voting on it. It is a salary commission. And just to break it down, in the short term, that's 50 cents more a day. In the long term, it's $1 a day. So just pointing out the amounts here, breaking it down. We're not getting mucho bucks, and it's not a huge increase. And we appreciate the salary commission for making those decisions for us. So that's all.
Thanks for doing that math. Any other comments, questions on this item? Okay, so since we don't need any action on this item, thank you, Ms. House, for your presentation, and Mr. Oborn and Ms. Evans for answering our questions.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn? All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Stuckey, second by Councilor Marshall to adjourn. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, that is passed unanimously.